Welcome. Yes, it's Premier League action time. We've got, I think, six matches this Saturday's fixtures. That's what I saw in highlights. I saw one game in its entirety last night, and the other five on highlights. If you're interested, they're doing the match of the day Saturday show on Reddit now, and getting the copy of that onto the highlights football.com, which is where I watch it. That's, of course, if you're outside the UK, and many of us are. So let's get to the first game that I watched, the early kickoff on Saturday afternoon, was at Goodison Park. Everton against Newcastle. Newcastle, a wretched run at the moment, 10 games without a win. But still Darlow keeping the goalkeeping jersey from Dubrovka. St Maximum's still on the bench. He's being eased back after his COVID scare. Everton had Richarlison, James and Lewin up front. Decore was back after his suspension. And early on, they were looking good. Dana particularly, or Dane as he's like sometimes called, he manages to get down that left side. And Newcastle really weren't closing him down. An early chance for Mina, but the goalkeeper managed to put enough of his body on the line, and it went away to safety. 11 minutes, Wilson had an effort deflected over Pickford's bar, and I didn't know that the Colombians, Mina and James, they really do make a meal of it when they get a strong challenge. But maybe I'm being a bit harsh on the South Americans. But Richarlison as well, they're guilty of really going over the top when they get caught. 29 minutes, again Wilson looking sharp, connected to a corner, but this time Pickford tipped the effort just over the bar. And then Sigurdsson was involved in an incident with Fraser, and Shelvey took the free kick. Sorry about the nose there, but it was well over. That was about it. Everton got more into it before the break. Richarlison shot wide on 36, but it was level at the break, goalless. Into the second half then, and 52 minutes, a swift counter-attack from Almiron, who was looking extremely active. I really like this Paraguayan. Unlike the other South Americans, he just gets up and gets on with it. Linked up with Fraser, who clipped it into the middle, and again Wilson was wide of the target. 54 minutes, a chance for Calvert-Lewin at last, brought out a save from Darlow, but small pickings for the Everton front three, and they looked like they were struggling, not as free-flowing as they were against Leicester. And it came as no surprise, really, on 72 minutes, with Shelvey looking more and more interested in this match. He managed to get a lovely corner on the head of Wilson, who stepped back from the 6-yard line. It was a tremendous header, a lot of neck power, and it went in the corner, just wide of Pickford's right hand. 1-0 for Magpies. Everton, the response, I wouldn't be impressed if I was a Goodison Park fan. The manager wasn't either on interview, Angelotti. They just didn't have that cutting edge and that extra creativity. And they were looking for a bit of individuality, and it didn't come. Almiron on 86 minutes managed to put Wilson through again, and he went round the goalkeeper, but his effort hit the post. He was a little wide, it has to be said. And then with Everton pushing for that equaliser in added time, a counter attack, some good work by Lewis after he received the ball on the left, and he crossed the ball perfectly to Wilson. First touch not great, but the England keeper again struggling really, and Wilson hit a clean shot wide of him, and that was it. Game over. 2-0 to the Magpies, and that was the score at full time. Perhaps a surprise, but Newcastle looking much improved. Everton, they continue to have a season that I think is going to end in disappointment. Final score then at Goodison Park was Everton 0, Newcastle United 2. So we were at the Etihad, Manchester City, top of the league, against bottom of the league, Sheffield United. Of course, Sheffield had amazing Old Trafford. Could they do the impossible and beat both Manchester clubs in the space of 3 or 4 days? Well, Guardiola rang the changes as he always does. Laporta, Walker, Fernandinho, Jesus and Torres in the starting lineup for the Blues. For the Blades, Egan and Bogle, Burke, were up front. Egan and Bogle in defence. They don't go up front very much. Early action then, predictably City having the ball, 8 minutes. Some tremendous work on the byline by Torres. The defence should have dealt with it, but he managed to wiggle his way through 2 half-hearted challenges, and then Jesus was waiting on the 6-yard line, and he got the ball to him, and well, it was an easy finish, 1-0 to City. And we were all expecting an avalanche after that. None of it. This Sheffield United side are slowly getting more and more resilient, and they comfortably got to the break without conceding again. And in the second half, they started to be a little bit more proactive. Bogle had a half chance. There was a strike from Zinchenko on 62 that brought a great save from Ramsdale. And the keeper was at it again a little later, denying Laporta. But Fleck up the other end had a good opportunity late on, inches wide. And then another save from Ramsdale on the whistle. Manchester City had grafted out a really tough 1-0 win against Sheffield United. Both managers were complimentary of each other, but I was very impressed with Sheffield United. But the result of it all is another 3 points for Manchester City. Last 10 games, they've won them all, and they've conceded just 1 goal. That is Championship form, Premier League title form. So final score then at the Etihad, Manchester City 1, Sheffield United 0. Okay, we were at St Mary's for Southampton versus Villa. Villa unlucky to lose at Burnley. Southampton got a bit of a mauling from Arsenal, it has to be said, in the week. They're both chasing wins. Their form has gone a little bit stale of late. 1 in 7 wins for Southampton. So they're certainly needing to improve things. Villa were unchanged. Adams was on the bench. Ramono, I can't pronounce that word. He was back in, as was Redwood. I haven't seen him for a while. There was a half-hearted penalty appeal early on, but it came to nothing for Saints. They were on the front foot, to be sure, but nothing to show for it, really. Half chances. And then Watkins on 38 created an opportunity. I really like this guy. He seems to have really adapted to Premier League since he came from Brentford. And he had a sharp shot which brought the best out of McCarthy. And then 41 minutes, once again, this young man is shining every time he steps on a football field. Jack Grealish, great cross after some good work down the left, and rushing in, following up like good midfielders should do, was Ross Barkley, and he headed home to put Villa ahead. Maybe slightly flattered them, but another opportunity 2 minutes later for Watkins. He had a couple of shots, but the keeper was good enough. So 1-0 at the break to the visitors into the second half, and certainly Southampton in the ascendancy. But Adam set up Ings, who brought a sharp save from Martinez. Armstrong shot wide on 75 minutes, and Redmond's effort was deflected over the top on 84. But it has to be said that Villa were also creating interest at the other end, and they certainly weren't being overrun. Ings was flagged offside for a goal by VAR late on. It looked an extremely tight decision, but apparently posterior was the reason why it was offside. And so we got to the final whistle. Hasenhüttl, a little disappointed really, but his side hadn't done enough really up front, and they had conceded, of course. Smith absolutely delighted with his young side, and they come away from St Mary's with a win. So final score then at St Mary's: Southampton 0, Aston Villa 1. So to the Hawthorns then. Two promoted sides, both in the relegation zone, both desperate for points. West Bromwich Albion at home to Fulham. I didn't catch too much of the team news, but Mitrovic was back for Fulham, and let's get to the action, shall we? Early on, it certainly looked like Fulham were making the running, and on 10 minutes, they managed to get Decorah Reid in the action. Mitrovic setting him up inside the box, and a clinical finish went past Johnson, and Fulham had taken the lead. Reid was again put through a little later, one-on-one with Johnson. This time, though, he could only find the post. And Lookman forced a save from Johnson. So as you can get a picture, Albion lacklustre, to say the least, and they were fortunate enough to go in only one down. But once we got into the second half, it was a different story. Has to be said that West Brom had a talking to. Bartley, the defender, equalised from a slight deflection. That was on minute 64, I believe. And 2 minutes later, Pereira, Albion's best player, converted a Diagne assist. Diagne has just come from Galatasaray, a new signing for Allardyce, and his cross set up Pereira, and it was a neat finish, and they turned it round 2-1. But they got sloppy later on, and Carvalho said thank you very much to Reid, and whipped the ball home with a diving header on 77, and that completed the scoring. It wasn't a particularly quality match, but 4 goals nevertheless, so quite entertaining. But I can see both these teams going through the drop zone. They're just not having, they don't have enough quality about them. So final score then at the Hawthorns was West Bromwich Albion 2, Fulham 2. Emirates then, Arsenal at home to Manchester United. Now, in the past, this has been a feisty affair. It's also been a high-quality affair. However, on this particular occasion, it was neither. A very poor game, I have to say. From the highlights that I saw, there wasn't a lot to shout about at either end. Lots of sort of approach play, but nothing in the vital final third. First half, let's just have a look at the teams. Cavani was up front, Martial on the bench, and for Arsenal, parking Martinelli up front and Smith Rowe restored. Fred had the best effort early on, which went just wide. Pepe had a shot, again wide of the mark. Wan-Bissaka's came into the action, and his effort was also not on target. And we got to half time following a free kick from Fernandes, which was deflected over. So that was goalless at the break. Second half, Willian had a shot blocked by Wan-Bissaka. He is just not looking the player he was. Cavani had a really good chance, which he managed to skew wide. And then up the other end, from a free kick on 64 minutes, Lacazette hit the bar. Then De Gea denied Smith Rowe. Cavani missed again, and that was after some good work by Rashford. But it seemed to be addictive. Rashford hit the side netting on 80, and a late chance for Cavani, which usually would have gobbled up, that also went wide. One injury for Solskjaer, McTominay limped off. That's not too serious. The Fernandes seemed to be getting into petty squabbles most of the afternoon. He didn't have a great game either. And so we reached the final whistle, and thank goodness there wasn't a full crowd in there, because they would have gone home extremely disappointed. Final score at the Emirates then, Arsenal 0, Manchester United 0. So the final match, I think I've counted them right. Yeah, the final match on Saturday was at Selhurst Park, Crystal Palace versus Wolves. Both sides, their form's been pretty woeful. 7 games without a win for Wolves, and Palace have only won 1 in their last 9. Ayew was back in for Palace alongside Batshuayi. Benteke rested. And they had Jose, a new signing, on view. Klein was at fullback for Palace as well. Wolves, they seem to be much the same as the last time I saw them, but I didn't analyse it too closely, it has to be said. But Silva was on the bench, and this, Jose was debut for Wolves, not for Palace. Sorry about that. Klein hit an early effort over the top. Zaha went down in the box screaming for a penalty, nothing given. And then Batshuayi on 42 minutes, managed to slice an effort wide inside the 6-yard box. So it was half-time goalless. We'd seen nothing really of Wolves up to that point. Then on 55 minutes, Podence corner found Jose, and he clipped his effort just over. And then finally a piece of absolute class on 60 minutes. Great transition from Palace. Lots of neat inter passing between them, and got out to Ayew on the right side of the penalty box. He fed Eze, and Eze with a deft sort of move to his left, completely bamboozled the defender, and then the sidestep was followed up by a pretty good strike, which hit the roof of the net. Well, not the roof, but it hit the net very quickly. Patricio really couldn't do much good, and that was the opening goal, 1-0 to Palace. Zaha then should have made it 2, but he hit the bar following a breakaway. Jose was denied by Gaeta, and Semedo also had an opportunity that didn't come to anything. Wolves were pretty disappointing. They are really desperately missing Jimenez. And I don't know what the answer is for Nino at the moment. The defence is wobbly as well. Crystal Palace, well, they desperately needed a win and they've got one. It wasn't the best game you'd ever see. Final score at Selhurst Park then, Crystal Palace 1, Wolves 0. As a result of all those fixtures, get it right, it remains the same at the top, although Manchester City have now gone 4 points clear, I think, of Manchester United. Of course, Leicester and Liverpool are to play today, and they could have quite a bearing on that top four by the end of this round. At the bottom, Sheffield United remain way off pace, the second, but encouraging signs for them. West Brom and Fulham shared the points, so they're still in the bottom three, which will be good news for Brighton and Burnley. And of course, Newcastle got 3 points, and so they've moved away from the drop zone. That's my lot then. We'll see you tomorrow with Sunday's results.